Hello and welcome to yet another episode of NDTV World. Today we are going to discuss one of the most important and one of the key topics in the world right now, which is artificial intelligence. So back in April, Meta had announced, rather teased, that it will do a first in the industry in the sense that it will be going to introduce an open source AI to the public on the lines of ChatGPT, which is OpenAI's product. So it had teased that it will be on the same level as OpenAI's ChatGPT. So today we have with us an esteemed guest, an AI expert with us. He is one of the founders of the company called Mounium AI. So Senthil, welcome to the show. We are glad to have you. To start off, can you take us through what are the key highlights of this new, AI technology that Meta has just launched, which is called Llama 3.1?
Yeah, so Llama 3 was launched in April and it became pretty popular. Okay, so Google is offering a 8 billion model and a 70 billion model. This they have extended even further. So this means they have done more training to it. The data cut down is somewhere around December. So from January they have been training. So 6-7 months of training with thousands of servers. And this is a multimodal model. So this model actually can understand images, can do OCR and other things, and probably image and video. Both it can process. Though we have not seen much demos yet on it. And the different part is the company Facebook or Meta. That company is not into cloud computing per se or cloud services. Like Amazon Web Services offers a Google, let's say Google has a cloud service. Microsoft has a Azure service, but Facebook doesn't offer that service, and they are building the best kind of models and they are open sourcing it. That's the whole part of it. So this kind of technology access is restricted in most areas. Anything which is cutting edge technology, for somebody to open source, other people to even repeat it, it will take sometimes decades. Even historically, okay. The Chinese, right? Chinese silk traders. So the silk worms were protected by Chinese. In only 500 BC, nearly 1,500 years of export, they had exclusive access. Only when the stories of some monks who smuggled it out of China and brought it to Byzantine, and that's how silk expanded to the world. Similarly, in India, like the coffee, right? The coffee we have, this was smuggled from Yemen. So some monk has supposed to have stolen it from there and brought it into India. And now India is a coffee drinking nation. At least in South India, predominantly people drink coffee. So
Okay, so
technology access
Senthil,
is a very
to
important factor. Yeah.
yeah,
So similarly, the technologies. So it will cost at least $1 billion or more to build a model of this size. Amount of training, number of hardware required, amount of power required for it. And the idea is, the developer get access to open source models. They can build something new on it. And the best example of open source, I will say, would be Linux. Okay, so on servers,
yeah,
nearly
yeah,
70-80%
exactly.
of all the servers are running on Linux. Okay, and something similar, and
Would
even
it
if there's a
be able
review
to
of Mark
achieve the
Zuckerberg.
level of Linux? Would it be able to achieve the level of the amount of prevalence that Linux has all over the world? Would this be the next big thing in big tech? The recent launch by Meta that happened yesterday, or would it be, to add to that question? Would it be able to take on the might of ChatGPT, which seems to be the key player in the market right now?
Yeah, so ChatGPT also spent several $billion. They had the early lead. Okay, so nearly 2 or 3 years back is what they got their first product. ChatGPT was what people aspired to become. Okay, and their biggest model was GPT-4 initially, which was launched in March 2023, and we are in only June 2024. Nearly 1.5 years in timeline, and somebody from open source, they're releasing a model which can be run and which is equivalent to what GPT-4 could do. Something similar, another company called Anthropic's Claude did a similar thing with the model in the work capacity. So there's a leaderboard. Okay, who is good at what parts? Is it good at maths? Is it good at logic? It can solve problems. It can write code. It can do multilingual. There are a lot of tests are done to prove which one's the best models. Claude is good at all these. This Llama 3, 4, or 5 is supposed to be better than all in the rankings for now. We have to explore more
Okay.
how this is generated. Yeah. This cannot be used from a local machine. I have a machine I can run, or I have a local GPU I can run. Probably you need to have 10 to 20 GPUs, kind of equivalent. Consumer get GPUs like 4090. to run the models currently, because this needs 800 GB of video RAM.
So you're
That's a lot
talking
of
about
RAM for.
the latest from Meta AI.
Yes, yes, that needs that kind of RAM.
Okay.
But the idea is, with a huge model with all the knowledge, you can do two things. Okay, you can do quantization. You can simplify it in some way where it will run a lower specification. Another part can we build specialized AIs with this part for training
Yeah,
other
that was
AI
also,
models,
yeah.
generating
Yeah.
synthetic data, or you can do a distillation. Okay, I want to say a journalism AI I want to build. Okay, so we can just take what will be the ethics and content, everything. We can extract this model to generate synthetic data, which can be used to train other models. So these are interesting
And
use
I
cases
think
for it.
Zuckerberg
The only part
talked
is
about this during the release yesterday. Zuckerberg talked about this, right?
yes,
That we can also create our own AIs.
yes. See, normally, let's take example of care. One is you have to put a seed in ground and grow or do agriculture or building a tree. It takes a lot of effort, sometimes years, right? Or the other method, what if you can do a grafting? So these guys have not only given the models, they're also giving how the model was trained, and they are also sharing the information with multiple cloud providers. About 15 cloud providers from yesterday have launched all these services, right? And within weeks we'll get more information how people have fine-tuned it. Can it do Tamil or Indian language well? I would love to be interested in those kind
Mhm.
of things. And what happens is this grabs the mind share. See, 20, 30 years back, the AI models, they were doing only C++ or Java was predominant to it. But once CUDA or NVIDIA came into play, they provided their hardware to all the universities and other training places, right? So people started using Python and CUDA for doing AI. And that is what led to the current AI revolution. Okay. And similarly, if OpenAI is being still predominantly used, but what if this
Yeah.
becomes a standard reference? Everybody will be using this. Okay, so all the students in college, they'll be exposed to
Yeah.
these models because Llama, because it's open source. It doesn't cost money for people to explore.
So it also brings in the security angle of it. So right now, big tech is sort of divided into two, worlds. One is pro open source AI, and other one is pro private AI. So, what do you think differentiates both of them, and what is your take on this? Like, which one is more safe, and which one has more security features?
Okay. See, in open source, the idea is more people can actually see what is happening. They can review the code, review the
Mm.
model or dataset, and say this is right or wrong, and somebody can correct it. And having multiple copies is advantage for that. Okay. We actually had one incident last week where one company released one code which kind of broke all the Windows systems in major companies.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyone
You're
related
talking
to
about the
compliance,
global
so
IT outage,
airlines and
right?
airports, global
CrowdStrike, yeah.
crowdfire, yeah, that whole thing. Okay, so that code was not publicly visible. It was running in a constrained environment and for government.
Mm.
Or see, think of it:
Okay.
a hacker had access to that code. They could have controlled the whole world in some way. Or what if AI
Yeah.
can, like I've been posted. So what if AI could have done that in some way? They could have taken control of the whole world in some sense, right? So is it possible? So
Okay.
ideas, if it is open, more people can see it and they can find a bug more easily. More eyes, more better.
Okay.
That's how
Okay.
we see it in some way. It's like a content which has been reviewed to more people, they would have corrected it in some way, right? Instead of something
Okay. Okay.
proprietary, which we have no idea how that works. Longer term, it makes sense. See, this is enriching the whole humanity, not only one company or one skill. It's enriching the whole humanity. That's how I
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. So, do you see this as a game changer, this Llama 3.1, in the sense that we are seeing so much advancement in this field? How is this a game changer? That many experts are also saying this could be a game changer.
We have to see how AI accelerates. Okay, normally the computer speeds were increasing for 35 years, for decades. In about it will grow about one and a half to two times in about 18 months, 24 months timeline. That's how machines grew. So from compared to 1970s computer, we are billion times faster and cheaper to operate. Okay, something similar is happening in AI as well, but the difference is it is growing at 10 times on a year basis. So on a 2 year
Okay.
timeline, will be growing 100 times. So 3 years, 1,000 times, and maybe a
Wow.
5 year timeline, nearly a million times, it will be more powerful. So 5 years later, where we might be, okay, that is what we have to
Yeah.
look at. The data models also become huge. Right, 2019, I think when they have initially had a GPT-2 model, they didn't want to open source something on that model, and that was about 400 million model token is what the size was of GPT-2. Okay, they're not OpenAI is not releasing the critical models for now. But think of it, the price of GPT-3 equivalent was something called Da Vinci model was there. It was about $10 or $12, $15 per million tokens in 2020, right? In less than 3 years timeline or 2020, I think, in less than 2 years or 3 years timeline, the price of the latest OpenAI model is okay. GPT-4o Mini. That model is about 15 cents per million tokens. So ultimately, it's all tokens is what we intend to talk. It's not words, it's tokens
Okay.
we use. Okay. So tokens, 100 times cost going down in 2 years. So the lead is pretty low. Okay. Though
Yeah.
currently
Yeah.
the people who are offering the services on Llama 3.1 would cost about $10 to operate per million tokens. But think of in a 2 year timeline, it will be 10 cents per million tokens. Okay. But the 2 years will also have maybe Llama 4 might come in, and I expect it could be a trillion token model. That will be a first open model which might come into play.
Okay. Okay.
And I think it will
So,
also bring a lot of goodwill for Meta for that part. A lot of people are going to adopt that technology framework. See, like Google has built a lot of models initially, but they never open source content. They had everything
yeah.
proprietary in that sense.
Yeah.
Uh, like say, Facebook did a lot of things. They had released something called PyTorch, which is predominantly used for AI modeling now. Something similar will happen with models as well. Everybody will be exposed to this model better than every other model. So they will, their mindset and thinking, everything will be based on this model, and that's a
So
huge
you
win
talked
for them.
about goodwill for Facebook, right?
Yes.
So I think all of us can agree that Facebook does need some sort of goodwill in the market right now, in the sense that it has faced a lot of scrutiny in the recent years. What is your take on that?
See, there are a couple of countries we can divide. Okay, let's divide AI into three parts. Okay, so in terms of a lot of researchers, China produces a lot of researchers. Nearly half the authors of all the major papers are Chinese or Chinese origin people. Okay, Indians also are there, but predominantly they are not doing it out of India. They're doing more from out of US. Okay, in terms of Europe, right? Europe is putting a lot
Yeah.
of regulations on AI. They were saying we'll
Yeah. Yeah.
ban maybe OpenAI and ChatGPT. About
Especially
two
the
years back when
Digital
they were launched.
Services Act that EU has, that Digital Services Act in EU is pretty stringent, I think. That's been,
No, no,
acting up.
okay. Again, I'm saying, see, the lawyers, see, it's growing so
Yeah.
fast. The current generation of lawyers or even people, senators, they don't understand what is going to happen. They were trying number of tokens should be a limited or number of compute. Okay, think of the compute is going to go 10 times in 1 year. How
Yeah.
long can you stop? You say, okay, this is a benchmark. After that, you can't grow. But what if
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't do it and your competitor does it? See, Chinese, they were banning
Yeah.
the GPU access to China, but they eventually figured out where to do it. They are releasing more open models than okay. So Sora was great when OpenAI announced it. We have not got access to it yet, but the Kling AI is doing equivalent or better currently with the model, and actually Chinese have access to it, and they're going to open it to the world next coming weeks. So we'll have very competitive world. So whoever takes the lead and gets a mind share, that's a very important factor to work on. So I think India needs
Okay.
also to do a lot more in this space.
Okay. So, lastly, I would ask you two questions. First one is, many people are claiming that this is the biggest and the best open source AI ever created. What is your opinion on that? And other question is, how do you see this progressing forward, in the sense that uh, US FTC, as we mentioned earlier, there are many regulations that have been clamping down on big tech. How do you see this moving forward? You mentioned that it's growing at an exponential rate. So
Yes.
what can the companies do to counter that regulation, or counter so much scrutiny that they are facing?
No, scrutiny will be there. Okay, for proprietary, the whole thing is eventually will we go into a AGI, or we'll go into let's say ASI, super intelligence or general intelligence, which can do everything. That is what people are fearing, and what if it leads to a lot of job losses? So politicians will be bothered about that. My people who potentially vote for me, they will get against it. Or if government can't figure out how to tax it in some way, generate more revenue for it. These are areas where there will be impact for it. That's what their primary focus is. Maybe security is also another norm which comes into play. But open models are better than okay. More people understand the technology, then they can find something to fix
Yeah.
it. Right.
Okay.
If the hidden model may not give you that benefit. That's how I would like to see that part. Okay. The idea is
Okay.
like Europe iPhone 18. Okay, so iOS 18, which the release is going to happen maybe in another couple of weeks, right? Once they release it, currently they are saying because European regulators are not allowing us, the new phones, iPhones, which will release will not have the models to run those inside Europe. First time, think of it,
Okay.
latest technology will not be available in one geography because they have some
Mhm.
regulation on that part. That's kind of bad in some sense. But people will figure out how to jailbreak or whatever. So if you have my own machines, I will do it. Maybe iOS is totally a regulated environment and something. Maybe Android people will do it, or people will install it by themselves. So that's how people will do
Okay.
it. People revolt in some way.
Yeah. If you have time, I would like to ask you one more question
Yes, go
for our
ahead.
viewers. In the sense that this is a big release in the big tech world. So, how do you think common people, like journalists or students, is there any way that they could benefit from these releases, or the latest one, the Llama 3.1? Is there anything there for the student, for the common folks to benefit from this?
Okay, so think of it. Okay, so even for GPT-4, what we said was okay. This is equivalent to somebody has done a master's degree in every possible subject, every possible
Okay.
information which humans have created in last 8,000
Okay.
years. Right, that's available in text
Yeah.
format that has been already trained on these models.
Mm.
There is no new information. They will get synthetic data to even train more on it. Okay. So in India, currently
Okay.
you can use, let's say, WhatsApp or your Facebook or your Instagram. They will have a chat button, and that would have access to maybe in coming days a week. They're going to really roll out to all the people. People can ask a question and get answer to it. See, earlier we searched Google with keywords and something, and we got some answer. We had to read through it and understand. Here we can summarize. If there's a news, what if we can? There's something called RAG where you can say retrieval augmented. So you can actually ask, hey, is this news valid? Or can you analyze, let's
Okay.
say, yesterday's, let's say, we had this budget was there, a 92 page PDF was released by people, they've shared it to a lot of people. Okay. Who's had time to read 92 pages? So either they
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
hours of video. So, okay, this is a PDF. Can you summarize it for me and give it a link? And that they're good at those kind of things.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can
That would be
translate
great
better.
for students. Yeah.
So books and content, everything. Okay, summarize this chapter for me. Explain to me. Think of it. Okay, you have not done previous classes well. You forgot that part. Can you summarize this chapter for me or content for me? Or you can ask questions. Say at least the knowledge cutoff is I think December 2023. So it's not a bad thing for science and technology. Most will be reasonably updated on that part. And for other purpose, we need to use some RAG for it, but it'll get better. Keep getting better. That's a good part about it. And it's free for access, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
For
the
people
best
who
part. It's
consume.
free. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Senthil, San, thanks a lot for joining us and giving us insights on this, big release that Meta has just announced about a few hours ago. I'm sure this discussion will help our viewers understanding the topic, and we'll be in touch with you for, future references as well. Thanks a
Sure.
lot for joining us.
Looking forward. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.